You know how good it feels to be thanked for something? Like when I'm lying in bed at the end of a day, both Caleb and I have worked, and he'll be like, thanks for doing all my laundry today. And it just makes me feel so good inside. So that's why we need to talk about how to be a more grateful spouse.
The Marriage Podcast for Smart People is designed to help busy couples like yourselves move away from conflict and unhappiness to build a marriage you'll love today and treasure for a lifetime. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Learn how you can help save marriages, prevent divorces, and keep families intact by going to oyf.support. Once again, that website is oyf.support. And now, here are your hosts, Caleb and Valinda Simone Gandel from Only You Forever.
Welcome to the Marriage Podcast for Smart People. If you want to build a thriving, passionate marriage, we've got the research, the truth, and the answers you are looking for. We are very thankful to share this episode with you this week on thankfulness. This is episode number 169, and today we're going to be talking about gratitude.
Hey there again. Before we get started, if you missed last week's episode, we talked about narcissism in marriage. That's worth going back and checking out. And do be sure to hit that subscribe button in your podcast player so that you don't miss any upcoming shows from us.
If you're struggling with your marriage, we offer sound, research-based advice, and most of all, we offer hope. Caleb.
Indeed.
The topic of thankfulness or gratitude.
Well, as you would expect, the research finds that expressions of gratitude have positive effects on marital satisfaction.
That's no surprise.
And it impacts it, though, both long-term and short-term. So it builds satisfaction over time.
Yeah.
If you maintain it. And it's also a booster shot. It can give you a short-term, like a quick boost to satisfaction.
I can see that totally.
So it's good for your marriage.
Right.
Bottom line. Let's unpack how and why it helps over and look at ways to increase the amount of gratitude that we all show to our spouses, or will be showing after today's episode. If you realize that this is maybe a growth area for you. So a study in 2010 surveyed 137 couples for how often they express gratitude to their spouse. And then in a follow-up study, they asked the spouses to express gratitude to each other. And then they had a control group where you would think grateful thoughts, but you wouldn't express them. You wouldn't say them out loud. So they wanted to know like the difference between saying it, feeling it, and just feeling it.
Okay.
So in both studies, they found that the expressing gratitude, that this increased the expressor's perception of the communal strength of the relationship.
And in English?
In English, it's saying that expressing gratitude increases a sense of joint strength and commitment, like that we have this strong bond between us.
Okay.
We got this thing going on. That's good.
Okay.
They also found that expressions of gratitude towards your spouse was linked to more positive perceptions of your spouse.
Interesting. Okay.
And this was, of course, as we're indicating, it's especially true for the expressor of the gratitude, not even the person receiving it. So if you're unhappy because of the lack of gratitude, you may actually need to try expressing it more rather than requesting it more.
Oh, very interesting.
Yes, this is like reverse psychology now, right? And
but even reverse psychology on yourself. Like, it's not like you're trying to trick your spouse into this, but...
Right. And it's good to note too, Verlinda, that this effect was only found for expressing gratitude, not just thinking it. So for all you quiet men out there, being grateful for your spouse is not enough to benefit from this increased relationship strength. You have to name it to claim it.
Okay. Interesting.
So we want to actually say it out loud. Now, as I was indicating, there's this reciprocal component to gratitude. So expressions of gratitude towards your spouse leads to them feeling appreciated and valued, right? Everybody gets that. Feeling appreciated, then, though, that leads to them appreciating you more.
So by you expressing it towards them, you're increasing your own, you have more positive perceptions of them.
Yep.
And it also leads to them appreciating you more.
Yes.
This is like a win-win situation.
It's a very win-win situation. It hits both sides,
which
is great. And not only that, but increased appreciation leads spouses to be more sensitive to each other's needs, which is interesting, hey?
Yeah.
And over time, it leads to higher levels of commitment, which makes sense, because I'm totally bought into something that I really appreciate.
Yeah. I'm going back to this being more sensitive to each other's needs. Like, can you think of an example or something here? Like, what do you...
Well, so the hook.
Yeah.
Where you mentioned the laundry thing, right?
Yeah.
So you'll form a connection in your brain that says he appreciates when I do stuff for him. So I'm going to watch for chances to do stuff for him. That's being sensitive to needs.
Oh, okay.
It's looking for opportunities. Okay. And this is where the reciprocal piece really takes off too, right?
Oh.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. That does make sense that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so then this helps couples grow closer together. They become better at responding to each other's needs. And so expressing gratitude for actions that really matter to you or show that your spouse has been especially thoughtful helps to solidify those actions. It helps your spouse to notice that their actions were appreciated, and therefore they're more likely to do the action again.
Because it just feels good to be appreciated.
Right.
Not just taken for granted.
Right. So this whole thing creates this upward spiral where positive actions are reinforced and both spouses end up feeling closer together.
Caleb, we could stop right here and everybody could have a better week.
Absolutely. But we're going to make their better week even better.
All right.
So what we're talking about here is the idea of reinforcing what you want more of. It's that positive upward cycle, right? So if your spouse is doing something and maybe it's a new thing, like don't hold back and wait and see if they can maintain it or, this is just a flash in the pan. Like show some gratitude. Let's see where this goes.
But I wouldn't want to give you a swelled head.
Don't even lay that one on me. But that's a good thing, right? So there's this interpretation piece that comes with it. So a study in 2009 looked at 166 people, found a link between trait gratitude, which is trait gratitude is where you have the trait of gratitude. You are a grateful person generally.
Okay.
Right? They found a link between that and a sense of coherence. Now, coherence is the belief that life is meaningful and that you're able to cope with it. If you think about it, it's kind of like just believing, you know what, I have enough of this together. Like we're going to make it through.
Okay.
So gratitude is linked to that idea of life is meaningful and you can cope with it.
Okay.
Now, I think this is one of the reasons why the Bible teaches us to be thankful people, because it actually helps us cope with life and make sense of life, right? 1 Thessalonians 5:18 says, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. That's gratitude linked to meaning.
Oh, okay.
Now, the mediating factor between gratitude and coherence, between this gratitude and this meaning and I can cope thing, is called positive reframing. Now, positive reframing is the tendency to interpret your spouse's actions positively and focus on the positive aspects of the relationship rather than the negative. So you're seeing the good in what they do and the good that's in your relationship.
Okay.
That really helps link this gratitude and the life is meaningful we can get through concepts together. You got to have this other piece in there.
Okay.
So increasing your gratitude enables you to interpret your spouse's actions more positively, which increases commitment and relationship satisfaction, among many other benefits. So all these things kind of roll together into this big happy snowball.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yep. And it's snowing today.
It
is very exciting.
Yes. So once again, we've created a bonus PDF worksheet called Growing Your Attitude of Gratitude, which is available to our much appreciated supporters. Thank you all for what you do to support us on Patreon to make our show possible. We do appreciate that very much. This worksheet helps you take this from a concept to actually implementing it in your marriage so that you can experience the amazing benefits that come from gratitude. And you can get this by becoming a patron of the Marriage Podcast for Smart People. We will just take a quick 60-second break to tell you more about that.
What happens when the fairy tale marriage meets reality? Too often, high expectations lead to disappointment, communication breaks down, and the struggles of day-to-day life become overwhelming, leaving you feeling lost and without hope. Unfortunately, marriage does not come with an instruction manual. Marriage troubles are deeply personal and can take a toll on you, your spouse, and your family. Counseling can be expensive and divorce is very costly. It doesn't have to be this way. Caleb and Valinda understand your pain and frustration. Their mission is to help save as many marriages as possible, and to date, thousands of couples are helped through their weekly podcast. But the most important marriage they want to help save is yours. With a minimum of a $10 investment a month, you gain access to exclusive bonus content and valuable information to help you succeed in your own marriage. Learn more about saving marriages and how you can help at oyf.support. That's oyf.support.
You're listening to the Marriage Podcast for Smart People. Maybe we should call that the Marriage Podcast for Thankful People. And before the break, we're talking about how gratitude helps us make meaning of life. And there's more benefits yet, though. Okay, so here's some little bits and pieces, 3 more of them. Gratitude impacts conflict resolution. Now get this one, Verlinda. Expressions of gratitude are linked to better ability to resolve conflict and a greater confidence in your ability to solve disagreements peacefully.
Really? By being thankful. Expressing your gratitude.
Yeah, not saying you have to do that while you're arguing, but gratitude leads to a more positive feelings generally about your spouse, which leads to feeling more comfortable expressing concerns about the relationship. So if we've been affirming and showing gratitude for each other, then when something does come up, it feels easier to address that sooner while it's smaller So the whole thing kind of points to it all going better, right?
Yeah.
Gratitude also helps buffer against distress. So expressions of gratitude can protect couples from suffering as a result of hardships and distressing circumstances. Isn't that interesting? So, for example, Barton et al. In 2015 found that expressions of gratitude between couples, or spouses, I should say, prevented financial distress from negatively impacting their marital quality.
Wow.
So it's amazing to think how powerful like that one thing can be, buffering life stress in your marriage.
Just by expressing gratitude.
Right. So if you can't solve your money problems, you can solve your thankfulness problems today.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes. And there's personal benefits to this as well. Not just benefits for the marriage. When you feel and you express high levels of gratitude, you will experience benefits such as high levels of optimism, a better ability to progress towards personal goals, feeling better about your life overall, improved mental health, greater willingness to help people, fewer negative health symptoms.
And this is from the expresser of the gratitude. Is that right?
Feeling and expressing high levels of gratitude. Yeah.
Gives you a higher level of optimism.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a study
Wow.
from 2009 identified those 6 benefits.
Huh.
Pretty cool, hey?
Yeah.
So this gratitude thing is pretty powerful. So let's talk about how to increase that in marriage.
All right. I'm all for it.
You're in?
Yep.
Thank you. You and I get it. Gratitude. Never mind.
Oh, thank you. No, I missed it completely.
Oh, come on. You need to be feeling it, baby.
Yes, my optimism just went up.
Did it?
No.
Okay. I'll try harder. So you and I can work on developing gratitude as a trait and as part of our personality. Like we can actually make this into who we are by regularly thinking of things that we're grateful for, either about our spouse or about life in general, and expressing these thoughts. So let's not forget to say them. And I keep saying that because that's my problem.
I thought you were pretty good at this.
I do, but I realize that there's a lot of things that I think and don't say.
Oh.
And it includes this.
What?
Gratitude.
Oh.
But because sometimes it can be a little bit vulnerable, especially if something helped you and like you're the man and, men don't need help and all that jazz, right?
Oh, I'm looking forward to this next week.
This is where we need to take this from just being theory to how can I actually make this part of my life, right? So here's some specific factors to help in increasing your attitude of gratitude. Mm-hmm. This is from Sheldon et al. 2007. Number 1, find new things to be grateful for, not just appreciating the same traits or actions in your spouse all the time. So new things.
Okay.
Number 2, gratitude should be expressed in a genuine and natural way that fits with your personality and values rather than being forced or rote. Caleb's podcast said I should say thank you for doing my laundry.
But no, this is like kids. Like,
you're welcome.
Someone gives your kid something and then it's like, well, say thank you. And they're like, thank you.
Yeah. My mom said to say thank you for the sweater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it needs to be genuine and fit with your personality.
Yes.
Because not everybody's personality is like, oh, and gushy.
Correct.
Some are more calm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what next?
I'm grateful for that too.
Just keep going.
Okay. And then the third thing is when you're starting out with this gratitude business, don't do it too regularly. Now just hear me out on this one. Hey, patience.
Okay.
You'll be thankful for this by the time it comes. So the study found that people who were asked to express gratitude once a week showed higher well-being after 6 weeks than participants who were asked to express gratitude 3 times a week. So the once a week group did better than the 3 times a week group.
Really?
For those asked to do it more regularly, it may become harder work to think of things to be grateful for, and therefore it might become more of an obligation or a chore rather than being genuine. So you said you're looking forward to next week, but here's a study that's just asking for
one thing.
One thing. But it's going to be amazing.
And I'll be thankful for it.
Whoopee. But what I think is happening here is the idea of intermittent. Okay, there's an inside joke there, people. Our apologies. There's the idea of intermittent reinforcement. Mm-hmm. Like it's more powerful if you give your dog a treat occasionally to reinforce a behavior, like when the dog sits, rather than to give him a treat every time. Like often you're doing it every time to start with to reinforce that in the dog. But the intermittent reinforcement in humans is more powerful. Mm-hmm. And it kind of makes sense, right? If it's too strong or if it's forced or if it's ritualistic, then that all takes away from gratitude being this genuine, simple act. Like, boom, this just came out of nowhere. Here's some gratitude.
Okay. I have a question about that because like I know somebody who is encouraged to have every night they have to say 3 things that they're grateful for or they appreciate about their spouse. And
that'd be a lot of work.
Yeah. And you know what? They did begin, at least one of the spouses began to resent it, and it kind of fizzled out. And then the other spouse is upset because they don't do it anymore.
That's kind of being overtasked by your therapist.
Okay.
I think.
Because it needs to be genuine, not just like, I have to do this again.
It is, yeah. And we're going to talk about prayer in a moment here.
Okay.
Because prayer increases gratitude. But I had this on my prayer list. And I think I initially had it every day, look for 3 things I'm thankful for. Well, then you just kind of...
Be like the same thing.
I'm thankful I have a roof over my head and we're all healthy and...
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you're not really feeling it anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. So expressing gratitude towards new things, keeping it real, that turns it into a positive habit. Like, remember, we're trying to develop a trait here, right?
Right. But I think, okay, yeah, we need to give thanks for new things, but I appreciate it when you thank me for supper.
Right.
Right?
Right. But if I said thanks for supper every day,
you pretty much
like
do.
That.
Oh, thanks for supper.
No, not even like with the dull attitude thing, but just thanks for supper, babe. Thanks for supper, babe. Thanks for supper, babe. Thanks for supper, babe.
Okay.
As opposed to, I probably do that a lot of days.
Yeah.
But like that supper was amazing.
Right. That feels better.
Right.
But thanks for supper, babe is better than nothing.
It is. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So I don't want to take away from people acknowledging like the routine things that happen in marriage. Yeah. But let's make sure that we interject the routine things with
the new things.
Some spontaneity as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Or when your spouse like outdoes themselves on the regular thing.
Okay. Agreed.
All good?
Yep.
Okay. She agrees. Therefore, the research is validated.
Shut up.
So prayer increases gratitude. This is useful, and it's useful to consider your faith. And again, this is me. I'm going to talk about this from a research-based perspective. The research shows that religious faith has been shown to increase gratitude. And more specifically, thankfulness is encouraged in Christianity. And when we attribute good things in our lives to God, this helps create a sense of thankfulness. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Prayers of thankfulness are an important part of this. So a study in 2009 found a strong link between the frequency of prayer and levels of thankfulness. And they found that frequency of prayer predicts gratitude 6 weeks later, which suggests that prayer causes gratitude rather than just grateful people praying more often.
Ah, interesting.
So the discipline of prayer is helpful.
Yeah.
To increase gratitude.
Okay.
Again, it's just this idea of me attributing the good things in my life toward God. And you know what I think else has happened is you're expressing.
Aha.
So in the app that I use for prayer, I have this occasional item that comes up, and talked about this for a moment there, where I compel myself to stop and think of 3 things that I'm grateful for. That's not a daily routine for me. Mm-hmm. When it's intermittent, it just kind of pops it in there. It almost surprises me, right? Mm-hmm. And that throws me off balance from routine or rote prayers, right? And really challenges me to pause and consider what is new, what's current, or what's the prominent blessing that I need to be expressing gratitude to God for.
Huh.
It's an exercise I enjoy.
Yeah.
I'd recommend it to others as well. So prayer can help gratitude too.
So interesting.
Yes.
Well, I know what I'm working on this week.
All right.
Yeah. Next week, Caleb.
Next week, we're talking about supporting your spouse when she or he has significant mental health problems. Like if there's a diagnosis of an actual, like a real disorder, more generally.
Okay.
So that'll be an interesting episode.
Yeah. That is all for today's episode, though. You can get the full show notes at oif.link/169. Find out how you can help others and their marriages. Go to oif.support. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.
The Marriage Podcast for Smart People is totally funded by listeners who support Caleb and Valinda in their mission to save marriages. If you would like to be part of this worthy cause, open your web browser to oyf.support. A minimum investment of $10 per month will help restore hope to married couples. Plus, as a patron, you'll gain access to exclusive bonus content and valuable information to help you succeed in your own marriage. Go to the website oyf.support now for more information. Thanks for listening to the Marriage Podcast for Smart People from Only You Forever.